Nate tukwaniriza ku programu ya KYOGEREKO wano ku MGD TV ke kaseera tuba tukyaza abantu ab'enjawulo ate nga twogera ku bintu eby'enjawulo ebikoze amawulire okwetooloola eggwanga lyonna. Ngenda kubanga ate nkyaza abantu ab'enjawulo babeere nga bakubaganya enfawo naffe, wabula ate naawe omulabi waffe osobola okubanga osindika suggestions ku namba 816 ku screen yo, osobola ogamba nti noti 7 noti 535 mukaga noti emu, or you can say 0700535601. osobola ate okubanga osubscribinga ku YouTube channel zaffe, Facebook, Twitter, ate nobeera nga ofuna latest information ku bifa mu ggwanga. Nga sinaba kuleeta abantu bano, let us go for a commercial break. I'll be right back. Mwebale kubanga ate mwekumidde ku mukutu gwaffe. As I promised you, I'm going to be bringing in important guests, and with me I have counsels in the house. We are going to be discussing on homosexuality, which has gone viral in our country, and anyone out there, you can suggest on our YouTube channel and you can give your suggestions. Allow me to give them the chance to introduce themselves.
Hello and good morning. My name is Justice Ochieng, a lawyer in making and an advocate in profession. Thanks to be here.
Hello everyone there. Good morning to you all. My name is Gilbert Karenzi, a lawyer in making, and I'm here to discuss about homosexuality.
So, Mr. Justice,
Yes.
How do you define homosexuality? To you, how do you understand homosexuality?
I think to the later community, why I define homosexuality, I have to bring it down and narrow it down to the later community, that's the LGBTQ. This is a vice which has just entered our community, and it is eating up our society completely, looking upon how it started back in the western side of the world, and it's now entering every kind of a country, and a lot of sanctions are being placed on place so that a country can sign to that bill and dance to their tune. Now, in simpler terms, homosexuality is a relationship between a man and a man, a woman and a woman, and you see, this is not what God signed for. If it comes to the religion part of it, you find we have issues in terms of that, leave alone just the religious part of it, looking also at the society we are in. Having Uganda being much into much of religion and society, you find it's a vice that we should just deal away with it. That's what I can define homo.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gilbert, how do you define homosexuality?
I would define homosexuality in two ways. According to the law, according to the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023, it defines homosexuality as the act where a man or a male engages himself into a sexual action with another man. The same applies to the women. If a woman is caught in a sexual activity with another woman, then that means that is also homosexuality. And in an African way, it is an abomination, because Africa, we have our own values. When you look at Africa, that is where Uganda is located, in East Africa. If I'm to take you back, in Uganda, every tribe has its own culture, and I have not seen some cultures which really tolerate homosexuality. For example, under the constitution, we see that any culture or any economic activity that is in conjunction with deteriorating human rights, it is not enforceable in Uganda. Therefore, it is null and void. Therefore, according to my perception here, homosexuality is an abomination in Africa, and therefore we cannot tolerate that. That is my submission.
All right. So, how is homosexuality affecting Uganda on the youth side and Uganda at large?
To be sincere and to talk about that, you see, let me go back to biblical. I'll base all my arguments in biblical kind of a nature. When God created man, he created man and woman. That is how the physique of God had, and he was like, no, I'm putting here for one main issue, which will be procreation. So when you see we value the traditions, just like my co-counsel has talked about, we value the tradition Uganda has. We value the tradition the African native land has, the 57 countries in Africa. So when you see the youths more engaging in this thing, looking at the Western side, being affected, influenced into the Western side, we are looking at the kind of a thing that is going to alter the procreation process. When you find a man and a man sleeping, that means in a layman's language, they'll never give birth. What is all about this is because they're trying to see, you know what, we are not going to have this kind of a generation. The billions of people in the generation, we are seeing the economy becoming high. Now, I think under the people who set up this homosexuality, they thought of, okay, now let's reduce the numbers of these people. That's all I can say.
Okay. Mr. Gilbert, what do you have to say about this?
I think for me, as he is talking, basing on biblical ways, I'll base my arguments on African tradition and again on the law. We have been having different circumstances in our country, but this has never happened before. I used to hear homosexuality, it was an abomination in the Bible, whereby that is Sodom and Gomorrah. Isn't it so, Counsel? Justice? Yes, but if you come under the law, there was that time when this bill was sent to the president to assent to the bill, and then the president, when he returned the bill to the parliament, he mandated, he was requesting the parliament to make some changes in some sections, and that was section 14 and section 15, whereby I think he made it lenient for them, I think, because the act doesn't punish a person being homosexual. It actually punishes a person who engages himself in homosexuality. It doesn't, for example, a person is homosexual. That is not a crime in Uganda. And again, it punishes a person who sodomizes children. And that one, when I was on TV last time, I saw President Museveni saying that if we find you sodomizing our children, we shall kill you. Of which I think it is lenient, because homosexuality, as my brother has said, it does not lead to procreation. It really leads. I think it ruins you as a person. Because if it didn't ruin people, they wouldn't be putting on diapers. So I think even a person who engages himself in homosexuality, I think those people need to be taken, to rehabs, to be rehabilitated. The president suggested it to be put in the act, and then the parliament or the parliamentarians were like, that will be on a later stage, not now. But I think it was the best way to go, to rehabilitate these people, to put them back in their normal senses. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So how is our country adjusting to the pressure of the Western countries?
Well, what I love about our country is, and what I love about the African tradition is that we have stood by our tradition. We have stood by our say. And shame upon those countries which are going to sign this bill into action and make homosexuals be in their country. But what I love about the parliamentarians of Uganda who stood straight and said, listen, there is a vice, we cannot allow it in our country, thanks to Mr. and President Museveni, who also signed the same bill and say we cannot, when somebody comes and interacts with your procreation process, to be sincere, that person is not having a good idea to your life. Sure. But you see now, we have a very mature kind of a parliament that understands the assignments, and a parliament that is like, okay, we are standing for this, not just because of us. We are not looking at the sanctions, we are not looking at the money kind of it, because they come with money. The Western sides, they can come with good money, sanctions. You see these companies they are put in place. But now we are not looking at that. We are looking at the effects. Are you getting my point? So once we have solved the effects, we have already solved the problem. Are you getting my point? So that we don't enter into issues of having a kind of a society, having a kind of a generation that cannot procreate, a kind of a generation that is stagnant, a kind of a generation that surely you love your fellow woman. Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert, what do you think about that?
What I think the Ugandan community is really adapting to this, because last month I saw my fellow comrade Maxon Mwezi. He was leading the youth from different universities. I think he had like over 20 university students from different universities. They went to Parliament to thank the Honorable Basariba for having tabled this bill. And I really think he did a very great job. He did a very great job thanking the retired, the president for having assented to the bill, and also thanking the speaker, Right Honorable Anita Among. And I think when this community adapts the way I think it should, I think homosexuality will be fought. Because if you're looking at the accusations these people are putting on Uganda, if you fail to assent to their requests, to accept their requests, they will start smearing you, they'll start painting you. And I was so happy, very happy with President Ramaphosa of South Africa. When he was giving his speech, he was like, Africans, we are not beggars. We are not beggars. For example, I'll give you an example. In COVID, there was a time when vaccines were scarce. And then President Museveni initiated an initiative, and he was like, let us empower our very own scientists to do what? To get us a vaccine. And Covidex, by then, Covidex was produced, and it was produced by a Ugandan. What do you think about these aids they are giving us? We can also do this, because as much as I know, Africa, we are rich. We are richer than those people. We have raw materials. Last time I was at Africana, we were discussing about the wealth of Uganda, and one of the generals surprised us with the things we never knew as youth. He was like, Uganda. Do you know why Uganda is called the Pearl of Africa?
Because of rich of resources and minerals, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, because Uganda, we have everything. Uganda, it is the country where you move from Kampala to Rukunjiri, where I come from, while you're seeing green.
The land is green.
The land is green, meaning what? The land is fertile, that can give us everything. We have minerals, Uganda. So I don't think we really need to be seeking aid from abroad, of which aid will come with strings, and strings attached. These are the strings forcing us to do what? To go with their policies. For example, homosexuality, and among others. This is not the last. Actually, I'm very happy. Ugandans, we are ready to remain the way we were. I think I was born by my mother, and my father, two of them.
You need the same too.
And I need the same. Procreate when I have another man in my bed. I cannot. And I really think Ugandans are doing a great job. Even if you go out and you say anti-homosexuality, I go with anti-homosexuality, people will follow you. But if you say you're a gay, people will kill you, because they don't have anything to do with you. You get my point? So Uganda is really, really, really doing a great job. Yeah, thank you.
Let's go for a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome to MGD Media, where our state-of-the-art studios are based. We offer a variety of media services and production, which include music production, video production, photography, online marketing, printing of all sorts of documents. We also offer space to produce talk shows using our latest technology at affordable prices.
Thank you so much for watching. So, what's the role of the church and other NGOs in fighting homosexuality?
Well, you see all my arguments I rely more in the biblical kind of it because me, I'm a Christian. And the church, to be sincere, 87% of the people we are having in Uganda here attend to most of these churches, and Uganda having its basis as the missionary kind of a country back in 1786. Now, when the missionaries came here, I think I can say the church is trying so much because, to be sincere, we cannot just call a church that no, they're not doing their work, but they have tried. But now you see when the government also comes and puts some incentives, puts money into the church so that they fight. Because you see most of the people, as I've mentioned, 87% of people go to churches. So these are very good place to target all these people, to uplift their spirits. Tell them, listen guys, it's better to have a man and a woman. You get my point? Yes, to me personally, the Church of Uganda has tried, and the church personal in its perspective. When I mention a church, I'm not just meaning the Christianity part of it. I'm also mentioning the Muslim part of it. I'm also mentioning the Jewish here, the Lutherans here, they attend to churches, at least to adjust to the core values of this country. Thank you.
On that, how church is helping, I'll start with a saying that goes like, give me a fish, I'll eat it. Teach me how to fish, I'll eat it forever. I think the church is doing a great job. I have seen reverends, I've seen bishops, I've seen the archbishop himself, I've seen the Muslim sheikhs, the Hajj, and I have seen all of them condemning the same thing. They don't really want it. The way we don't want it is the same way these church leaders don't want it. And I want you to know that we emulate these church leaders because they are the ones who show us the way to go. I have seen them reminding people about Sodom and Gomorrah. Some people don't know about it. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Some people don't know about it, but these church leaders have tried to go back in history of the church to remind these people about what happened long time ago, that it could happen again. I think, Mr. Justice, you have seen some gay churches which are, in abroad, which are promoting, and some of them have, I saw a church last month which busted. I don't know what happened, but really I think there was a reason as why these churches are being,
you can call it miraculous.
Miraculous. I think God is not happy with these things, and I think last time I was with my friend Reverend Richard, and he was telling me the things I never knew about the Bible. We tend to be knowing.
About the Bible and you're wondering, right?
Yes, and I was wondering where is this guy getting all this information from? But he told me the reason as to why God created Eve, it is not that Adam wasn't enough. Adam was enough, but they really needed to procreate. If it wasn't enough, he would create another justice. Yes, and say, Adam, you're going to be living with justice. But he created Eve, and which means he wasn't ignorant about the procreation process. And I think that is a very great job, because they are teaching our young sisters and brothers, the toddlers meaning these people who can't differentiate between a good and a bad. And I think if they continue teaching them that homosexuality is bad, because these people now, they have understood they can't manipulate us. We are old people. You can't manipulate me. Now they are going back into the young age, which can be manipulated. And I think the church is trying to curb that. The church is trying to teach these people, these children, that this thing is really bad. And I really appreciate, because some schools, some other schools and churches, they don't want to talk about it. We don't talk about bad things, but these real men of God, they are really trying to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, these young children won't understand. You really need to talk about it. Remove the shame, because it is not the shame. It will be a shame if you find your child that your child has been sodomized. It will be a shame, but it is not a shame. You, as a father or as a reverend, to tell this child that this act, when it happens, it is really bad and you can never heal. These people don't heal. Did you know that?
Yeah, they can't.
Until you die.
It's like a curse.
It is like a curse. And I think really the churches are doing a great job through that. Yeah.
All right. How has Parliament stood on its words, and how has it affected?
Well, to be sincere, thumbs up for the Ugandan Parliament. Starting with Basalariwa when he came with that bill, to be sincere. That's why you saw when my co-counsel was talking about the students who went to visit the Parliament, and thank Anita Among plus the parliamentarians, all of them, for signing this bill and of course opposing everything that was coming with it. We might look at the goodies. Maybe the Parliament saw, okay, there are not going to be donations, there are not going to be funds from the West countries and such. But the question is Uganda capable of handling itself? And now the Parliament sat, looked at such kind of a scenario, was like, no, as Uganda we have a green land. This is the Pearl of Africa. Being the Pearl of Africa, we can sustain ourselves through our economy, through the kind of taxes we place in charge. We can sustain ourselves. We don't need more for the people to give us the money. So the Parliament truly, it has done its best. At least for the first time, let me now just criticize them. For the first time, I'm seeing an active Parliament starting to stand on their own and opposing everything that comes around with homosexuality. Thumbs up to them.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't Parliament, we wouldn't be at a stage where we are right now. Respect to Honorable Asman Basalirwa. Right Honorable Speaker Anita Among, the President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and other parliamentarians who contributed. You get? Because I want to let you know that without laws, man is nothing. So if it wasn't this anti-homosexuality bill or act, Uganda, I think homosexuality would be on TV.
To be sincere.
It would be, I think you wouldn't have hosted me. You would be hosting the homosexuals to talk about their rights. And I'm really dissatisfied with some opposition leaders who really think that homosexuality is a human right. I'm studying law. Counsel Justice, you're studying law. I want you to cite for me any law that says that homosexuality is a human right. We all know the human rights. We all know the human rights, and I think some opposition leaders are trying to take this.
They always say not every human right is a right to human. That's the truth. So you can come, for us we are fighting our human rights, but is it a right to human? You as a human being, is it your right? Yes.
Definitely, what you have said is right, because I'm seeing some opposition leaders are really trying to take an opportunity, an advantage of this to gain, which is not really good. We need to first think, tomorrow you're fighting for these rights, but tomorrow it will be your child. Yeah. Will you be happy if your child doesn't marry? If your child brings Gilbert to you, that Gilbert is the wife, will you be happy? You won't be happy. Of course, you won't be happy. The same applies to my father. He won't be happy if I take Justice and I tell my father that Justice is my wife, because he will. Yes, he is a right-thinking member. He knows what should be happening. You get my point. But otherwise, if it wasn't the parliamentarians, the few, not all of them, because we know there are some who oppose.
Of course.
Yes, the few who moved this bill, who actually voted for this bill to become an act of parliament, I really think they did a very great job, because my mother right in the village didn't know about the homosexuality. Do you know that some people in the village don't know about homosexuality? Do you know that if it wasn't this bill, right now they would be knowing about homosexuality, because people would, because I'm told that these people have funds. If you engage in the acts, they will fund you. But I think in Uganda right now, that is impossible, because if you're caught engaging in homosexuality, life imprisonment. If you're caught sodomizing someone's child, then that is, they will kill you. A death sentence. And I think that is a really good, very good. That is very good, because it will scare away these people who they would be homosexuals. Do you know that right now you can bypass someone who is a homosexual and they will fear to disclose themselves just because of this law? And that is the parliamentarians. If it wasn't the parliament, it would be nothing. All our efforts would be in vain. So thanks to the Parliament of Uganda, the 11th Parliament.
Thank you so much. Let's go for a short break. We'll be right back. Mwebale kubanga ate mwekumidde ku MGD TV okuva wetwatandise paka wetutuse programu yaffe wakati. Wabula ate naawe atulaba nyongera okutegeeza nti osobola okubanga oweereza endowooza yo ku noti 7 noti 535 mukaaga noti emu, or you can say 0700 535 601. Counsel Justice,
yes.
Do you think the punishment that is given to these people is fair, or?
Well, they always say in every devil there is an angel. Thank God that your name is Angel.
Yes.
So, well, there are some countries which have placed harsh punishments. Now, that is where now, as lawyers, we can come and interface. Because as much as I was telling Counsel Gilbert about is every human rights a right to human.
Okay.
But now you see this kind of a harsh engagement. At times they might work, at times they might not work. But the question is, how is the country putting incentives? At least even though there will not be a punishment, because you cannot tell somebody is going for a life imprisonment. What if he finds a homosexual in the prison?
Right.
That means the vice will be recapaciting itself to a fine. You find they are not even stopping at the same time. But now, if we have an office, maybe the parliament, through the parliament, they create an office where we have these people into board, talk to them one-on-one. You get my point? We open up workshops, talk to these young kids. We start from there, first of all. Okay. Talk to these young kids, maybe the people caught in the act. They be given advice. They be shown the effects of homosexuality. They be told, listen, we are not encouraging you to do this, but listen, we can give you a kind of a lesson approach where you see yourself moving out of this. Remember, as just Counsel Gilbert has said, homosexuality is a vice. It's like a curse. The moment it enters into you, you find yourself, you cannot move away from it. Okay. But if we have counselors, if we have people from the church, people who are putting in place and saying no, we are saying no, but in a good way, not ambushing them, because they are humans, that's the truth. You get my point. At the end of the day, we are looking at them as human beings. So let's also handle them in terms of being human beings.
But some people may take it for granted. They may, for example, you may find someone doing the act because you say they can talk to them, advise them. So they, some people, they do mistakes repeatedly. So they will do this for the first time when they're caught, and you talk to them, and they will do it for the second time. So what?
I will answer that in one sentence. A mistake is not a mistake until when it is repeated. Right. You get my point? Yes. So once now we see somebody is out of the limits, is out of now our law, that we have given you advice, we have tried to help you, we have tried to bring counselors into your life, and you have tried to, now that's when we can prioritize the prison part of it, a life imprisonment, but also under supervision, because as much as you're giving somebody a life imprisonment, it's like picking a bad egg from another pot and placing it with the good ones. At the end of the day, this bad egg will go and influence this good ones. Yeah. So at the end of the day, as much as even we're putting them in prison, we have that kind of a close-up that we are going to advise them, look at kind of means we can bring them and remove that kind of homosexuality in them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Gilbert, what do you think about that?
According to the punishments, I think the punishments are lenient because the law, the Anti-Homosexuality Act 2023, doesn't punish a person for being homosexual. Okay. It punishes a person for having participated in actions of homosexuality. Yes. Are we together? Yes. And I really think the president's suggestion when he returned the bill was all right. That is in line with the Council Justice's submission. Mm-hmm. He was suggesting that there be put a section in that act yes. that mandates the concerned body okay. to rehabilitate these people, to get them back to their normal, of which the Parliament suggested that it will be handled at a later stage. And again, I think the Act punishes a person for having participated in homosexuality to life imprisonment. And that life imprisonment means that it would scare away other people. They would be homosexuals. They would be knowing, if I do this, I'll be taken to prison for life imprisonment as my fellow was done to. And another thing is, if someone sodomizes your child, as much as I agree with the Council Justice's submission, you cannot rehabilitate a person who has sodomized the child. We know it pains. I know the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda provides that a person who is 18 years of age is an adult. But if you are an adult in your own capacity, and you go ahead reasonably knowing that is a toddler, that is a kid, and then you go ahead, you engage that child in homosexuality, you sodomize someone's child, sodomize someone's child's future, and then you need to be rehabilitated.
For example, I can give an example. There are kids out there who are taught homosexuality when they are still young. So you can't tell me a child of a tender age can go and do that act, and then the child will be imprisoned, life imprisonment. Don't you think that child could be pardoned?
That child can be pardoned, but according to the law, Council Justice, you will pardon me, I think here, the child is, if the child is below 12 years, the child is not liable. Therefore, the parent is the one liable, because the parent has failed his or her roles as a parent, because it is the parent that has to take care of the child. So therefore, the duty of care is owed to the parent. If you don't take care of the child, and then your child does something contrary to the law, then you will be taken to court. Yes, into account of that. I think parents really need to take caution of their children. They need to watch their children. They need to see which TV programs do their children watch. I think they need to personalize these children's gadgets. Because it is possible. If you don't personalize it, you'll be seeing whatever your child is seeing. And if he or she goes astray, you will be able to direct the child. But if you don't personalize his or her gadget, it means that child has the discretion to see what he wants. Yes. If he directly goes to see the homosexuals, and then that child adapts to the homosexuals, and that child starts practicing homosexuality, then you, the parent, you will be liable for the child's acts. And getting back to the punishments, I was I was still telling you about death penalty. I think death penalty is really good for the people, those people who sodomize. You know,
it's too harsh.
No, it's not too harsh, because these people who are sodomizing their neighbors' children, they were also born. If their mothers and fathers had engaged in the same act, they wouldn't have given birth to the person sodomizing. So therefore, I think death penalty is really good for the people who sodomize other people's kids. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let me know what you think about this. Subscribe and follow our YouTube channel. Well, as we are concluding, give the people who are watching you a piece of advice. And
now, this is the piece of advice to my fellow youths, because a youth is somebody from 0 years to 45 years. And most of us now, we find ourselves that life has pushed us to limits that now we can engage in anything we want to see. But now to you, sometimes this is an advice to you. Please, at least work on your money. You get my point? Get a clean money. It's not a must that you go and sodomize somebody else. You have to have a relationship with your fellow gender so that you be given money. Question number 2 now, this goes to the parents. Please, parents, be careful. There's one time I saw a cartoon program. I just sat myself down and was like, today I'm going to see this cartoon program. And whatever I saw in that cartoon program, it were things that were giving all these kind of things a go ahead. But you see, when parents come and they find kids watching cartoons, they be like, no, they are, let them watch cartoons, that's a kids program. But are we sure it's a kids program? If we sit down and watch these kid programs, are we sure we can learn something? You get my point? So to parents, they have really let us down sometime. Parents are too much busy looking for the dime, looking for the bag. They are not there to give the kids what they need. Now, going back to our church and now the elders in the society, I know it's a bad advice. I can now differ from Counsel Gilbert, where he's saying that now there's a death penalty. My issue is, how human are we now as judging? You remember in the Bible when Jesus said, if you have sins, you take the stone and be the first one to throw. Now, question is, if at all also we try other incentives like putting these people down, advising them. Listen, an advice cannot be an advice. A person who really has seen himself he is broken, you give him the effects, show him the effects of homosexuality, already maybe he has passed through that effect. So if we give him advice and tell him, listen, this is what's happening, this is what is going to be, do this, at least try to engage in this. We put them into rehabilitation centers where they are man-owned. You get my point? Yes. Let me tell you, there are people who can rewrite their stories. I believe in rewriting stories. Somebody can come out of there and say, listen, because we have been having so many survivors. Somebody say, I was much engaged into homosexuality, but today I'm preaching the gospel of the Lord. I was engaged into this, but today I'm preaching it against it. So at least give somebody what we call a grace period to overthink about his life. And now this goes to my youths, please. Let's not engage in this thing. It's not fair enough. How fair enough is it that when you give birth to a kid and you expect your generation to continue, a generation that will impact other generations, they find your son or your daughter is loving another woman, how will it be? How will it be? That is the question I can ask you and leave it with you. Thank you.
All right, send your regards to a few people.
Well, I send my regards to my family members, my son. I know he'll be watching this one day, one time. Son, please don't engage in this thing. I love you, man. Yeah, thank you.
Counsel Gilbert, give people a few pieces of advice for who are watching you there.
My advice to the youth, I will advise the youth most especially because this thing is really targeting the youth. It is not targeting the elder people. It is not targeting my... Love you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Mwebale kubanga ate mwekumide ku MGD TV. One word is enough to the wise. We have heard from Counsel Gilbert and Counsel Justice Batugambye Ntinila. Let us not neglect our children. Let us know what is happening into their lives because those children really need us. Let us not just leave the maids to do their work, but But you also as a parent, when you come back from work, ensure, is my child safe? At one point, take responsibility, go and shower your child, talk to your child, ask your child what is going on. Those children know a lot of things, but they keep quiet. So mwena abali eyo abagala okola businesses nafe mwagala ate tubeere nga tubakubira obulango bwamwe, abagala photography, osobola okuba nga ojja wano ku MGD Media. You can call us on 0700535601 oba osobola ogamba nti noti 7 noti 535 mukaaga noti emu. Osobola okuba nga ate otuuka wano tujja kuba nga tukukolako ate bajja kuba nga osangawo abantu ab'enjawulo. For the latest information, beera nga ate osubscribinga ku channel yaffe. Ate naawe ayina endowooza ey'enjawulo, you can send your ideas on 0700535601. Nange Angel Grace Halai. Thank you. Take care.